Well, hello there and good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I am Frost PDP, and today we are going to talk a little bit about Hearts of Iron 4. We're going to talk a little bit more today about basically the atomic bomb decision and how it came to be. Now, for those of you who don't know your real world history, because this is an alternate history game, it was about, 1945 when we were still at war with Japan. Germany had surrendered, and we were not sure how the war was going to go. We were not sure if we were going to have to invade Japan to take them over. Now, obviously, in my Hearts of Iron 4 campaign, America the Awesome, we did take Japan over with relatively few casualties. But you'll notice something. If I click on this little button here, scroll all the way down since I was one of the last people in, we alone have suffered 1.82 million casualties. Now, American casualties in World War II, when you Google that, you see a big list of casualties, because it was that bad. But United States of America casualties were comparatively small. Our military casualties, according to Wikipedia, deaths from all causes, 407,000. Now, let's take a minute and take a step back. 407,000. We look at 9/11 and we see 3,000, and that's horrible. So imagining 400,000 dead is pretty bad. For those of you who don't read the title of my channel, I'm a historian. I've done a lot of studying of World War II. This number would have been unimaginable to American planners, except in one context. Some people, mostly after the war, but there are hints that it was contemplated during the war, thought it would take 1 million American lives to invade this. I mean, we lost a whole heck of a lot of people just taking Iwo Jima, which I never even bothered to take in this game. I probably should, in fact. I'm kind of wondering how Japan's had a navy that would answer the question. But anyway, so atomic bombs. On one hand, there's the obvious. They are horrific weapons. They have a non-finite lifespan as a dealer of death. I'm trying to think of the right words to put it, because it's really not something you can script when you're talking about this. If you've ever seen the before and after pictures of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, if you've ever contemplated the firebombings of Tokyo and Dresden, you wonder from this very weird perspective of what is right? What is right in a situation where you have a bomb that can destroy a city? Well, that in and of itself, the answer during World War II was obvious. You use it. We destroyed cities with non-nuclear bombs. And by destroyed, I mean Tokyo had 100,000 people die in one night under the command of Curtis LeMay. I would recommend The Fog of War. It's an excellent documentary. It's really more of an interview with Robert McNamara, who was at the time of World War II a statistician, if you would believe that. And some people blame him, some people credit him, some people just say it was him that came up with the mathematics that prompted Curtis LeMay's firebombing, that preached efficiency. And he would not deny that he was a part of that. He doesn't take the credit or the blame. He just says, if I can paraphrase him very quickly, he was part of a mechanism that essentially recommended it. But this was a war. We were attacked. We saw what happened in Nanking. It was a horrible war. I would like to think that as a species, humanity is moving beyond this. So for me, this is more of an exercise in how would I behave then, knowing what I know now? And my answer to that is, well, I'm getting a chance to sort of relive that history, if you will. I'm getting a chance to make that decision for myself. And I'm making it in very different circumstances, because number one, I'm trying to remember what it would be to be a person of this day, to see this horrible war that has now gone on into 1947. I mean, the real war was over by 45. Midway through 45, August, we had won. And before that, I mean, it was still going on, and the possibility of an invasion was significant, but I think our greatest fear was the Soviets, which, as you can see, they're not doing too well in this game. In fact, that's Moscow. That's not good. You know, what do? You know, you can click and you can go, alright, what are the game effects? Well, I have 7, almost 8 nuclear bombs. Okay. I click a button, and, oh, I have to have these things, and they will lose 20% national unity. Impact will be largest in, you know, like, okay. That's not going to talk about casualties, because there's a number here, 8.6 million. That's civilian population. That's 6.68 million people that are in this area that are going to be atomically bombed. And at the time, I'm a believer, and maybe I'm just idealistic or optimistic, or I don't have the right sources, but I'm a believer that they did not understand radiation. You see, radiation is the thing that really separates the atomic bomb from being a regular bomb. Blowing up a city was not controversial at this time. It was a given. It was assumed that you were at war, you're going to bomb the city, because we had no way to do pinpoint precision bombing. I mean, we had some gyroscopes. We didn't have accuracy. That's why we had carpet bombing. When you hear someone like Ted Cruz talk about carpet bombing, they don't understand warfare. They just don't. And maybe that's because they've never had a command one. Maybe they've never studied one. I've never had the privilege, honor, difficulty of serving my country and having to make those decisions. I was not allowed to. I don't want to get into the story, but when 9/11 happened, I was a young man. I tried to join the Marines. I was not allowed to. I was told, you're not getting in. So, that's that. But it's health reasons. It's purely health reasons. I'm 4F, basically. Like, there's just no way. So, I have never been in that situation. But as a historian, I have studied. And the decision was never, will you or will you not destroy the city? It's will you destroy it for generations. And I do not believe we had that information at the time. I don't think we really fully understood how radiation would linger for so long and what it would do to Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the issues of birth defects 2 or 3 generations down the line. I don't think it is right to punish people from that perspective. That is why no nation has since used nuclear weapons. We've discovered that, and we said there's no way this makes sense. This isn't just destroying cities. This is, as Robert McNamara again would put it, destroying nations. As I would put it, it's destroying the world. There is no world after you drop a nuclear bomb. There's just not. So, if you were to ask me, knowing what I know now, would I make this decision? Given how my war is going, see, that's such a hard question to answer. I know, it's a video game. I'm supposed to just click the button, right? But at the same time, as a human being, I have to try to keep... And this is what, like, people don't understand. I know I'm sidetracking, but when people talk about violent video games, like, I'm commanding World War II here. I could have commanded World War III if I was to end this game and, you know, end this battle, this war, and then fight the Soviets. Like, there could be World War III right afterwards. We could have had that in real life. Many generals, including little Patton over here, were not particularly fans of the Soviets and really thought that it was going to be a war no matter what we did, and we should be the ones to strike first. Curtis LeMay even was mad at the outcome of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So it's really hard to say, like, oh, this is good, this is bad. But for me, it comes down to looking at the casualties. Is it worth us and Germany, by the way, because they've lost 7.75 million. Is it fair to be young men, mostly men, fighting and dying instead of maybe bombing 1 or 2 cities and destroying them and leaving a permanent memorial that war is not a thing the human race can afford anymore? Knowing what I know now about radiation and thermonuclear bombs and hydrogen bombs, my decision might be different than knowing what I knew about Little Boy and Fat Man. Right? It was Little Boy, Fat Man, not Fat Boy, Little Man. I don't remember. The point is, in my viewpoint, the answer is obvious. I've clicked the button. The bomb will be dropped in 12 hours. Let's go. Let's let some time run. I want to see what happens. Well, it looks neat. Atomic bombing of Berlin. Today at 1 o'clock March 18th, 1947. That's European notation. The German capital of Berlin was struck by a nuclear explosion. The city has suffered several attacks in this war, and the last, but all else pale in comparison to this. Not since the 30 Years' War has Berlin seen comparable devastation. Considering its growth, this was seen as an impossibility. The Führer bunker appears to have survived the blast, at least partially due to the bomb detonating away from its planned epicenter, and Adolf Hitler is rumored to still be alive, if outraged. How German leaders should be evacuated and if they can be protected from the fallout is another matter, however. Today, I am relieved not to be a Berliner. I click it again, it still says 8.6 million. So, I mean, do I just keep mashing the button? Does that win me the war? National unity is at 70, base weekly change. I actually don't like this mechanic at all, but I wanted to talk about the decision to make the atomic bomb drop, and I've shown you mine now. You can criticize my thinking all you'd like, but I think it has to be said that the circumstances at the time were different. The weapons were different. The fallout was different. It wasn't nearly what it would be with a modern nuclear weapon. Or I guess modern nuclear weapons are designed to be like almost radiation free, but they can't be. But they're also far more devastating. I mean, like, it's not even funny how devastating they are. So, and by the way, that did not even affect the German Reich's willingness to fight. It just lowered their national unity. Communist Party is growing. Is somebody influencing them? Nah, it doesn't matter for the purposes of this video. That's my decision. You can agree with it or disagree with it, but I did it, and obviously the saying, now we have become death, destroyer worlds, is relevant. Looked at from another direction, I would quote the Saracana Chronicles, now we've all become bastards, or sons of bitches, or whatever it is the line she uses, which is also true, because let's face it, we've now done something inhumane. We've crossed that territory, we've crossed that line, and that is the way it is. So thank you for joining me. I hope you found this enlightening and entertaining, for those who don't usually watch. But thank you for joining me. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you want to learn more about Hearts of Iron 4, if you want to watch the game, if you want to watch other strategy or other video games. And as always on this channel, La Paz.